Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and unravel what has to be one of the absolute wildest, most audacious premises in history, the double sail of the Eiffel Tower. I mean, picture it. It's the most iconic, most photographed structure on the planet, right? A towering symbol of engineering and national pride. Now, imagine someone having the absolute nerve, the gall, to literally put a price tag on it, metaphorically pack it up, and successfully sell it to a completely unsuspecting buyer. It sounds exactly like a Hollywood movie plot, but no, this is a historical reality, and it challenges basically everything we think we know about trust, deception, and honestly human psychology. So today we're going to break down exactly how a scam of this colossal magnitude was even possible.
Because look, there is obviously only one Eiffel Tower in existence, right? But remarkably, it was sold 2 separate times. 2! Just let that sink in for a second. You know, it's one thing to pull off a scam of this staggering size just once. Maybe you catch someone on a really bad day or exploit a momentary lapse in judgment. But to do it twice? That completely elevates this from just a simple fraud to an absolute masterclass in psychological manipulation. I mean, usually if something is sold once, it belongs to the buyer. End of story. So how on earth does a world-famous monument get sold a second time by the exact same person?
So let's get into Section 1, an impossible sale, the setup of a legendary con.
Okay, so how do you sell a monument? To get this, we really have to understand the environment that allows something this massive to even happen in the first place. I mean, how does a person even begin to negotiate the sale of something so impossibly huge? Think about it. If someone came up to you on the street today and offered to sell you, say, a famous suspension bridge, your immediate reaction would be to laugh, right? You'd be looking around for the hidden prank cameras. So to sell a monument, the seller has to prey on something much, much deeper than just simple financial greed. They have to tap into ego and this irresistible desire for insider privilege. They basically have to convince the target that this is a highly classified government initiative, like a top-secret scrap metal deal that the general public absolutely cannot know about yet. It requires building an entirely believable alternate reality, just waiting for the buyer to step right into.
And it really is the ultimate David and Goliath setup, just playing out in the criminal underworld. Think about the crazy physical reality here. On one side, you have the asset, the Eiffel Tower. It is entirely public, literally bolted to the ground, visible from miles away, and very definitively owned by the state. But then, on the other side, you have the seller. He is private, mobile, operating entirely in the shadows, and armed with absolutely nothing but some forged documents and, frankly, a terrifying amount of unwavering confidence. You see, the man didn't actually need to physically move the tower. He only needed to move the buyer's perception of the tower.
Which brings us to Section 2, the first transaction, pulling off the unimaginable.
So, the seller has set the bait. He's orchestrated these incredibly tense, secret meetings in upscale hotels, and he's presented all this fabricated documentation to his mark. Now, at this stage, he's walking an absolute tightrope. Literally one wrong word, one slight hesitation, and the entire illusion shatters in an instant. But miraculously, the tension holds. Massive funds are actually transferred, and just like that, he earned the moniker, the man who sold the Eiffel Tower. And, you know, he isn't remembered today as just some common thief. By successfully packaging the most recognizable skyline in the entire world and handing over a totally invisible deed to a willing participant, he pretty much cemented his place in history forever.
When you really understand the mechanics of this operation, it reveals the sheer, mind-boggling audacity required. It goes like this. Step 1. Target the monument. You pick the most absurdly obvious target possible. Because honestly, who would ever suspect a scam that is so blatantly enormous? It literally hides in plain sight. Then, Step 2. Make the sale. You execute the psychological manipulation perfectly, and you secure that briefcase full of cash. Now, any normal criminal at this point would take that money and run for the hills, totally terrified of that explosive moment when the buyer finally realizes they've been had. But the true twisted genius of this story lies in Step 3, repeat the con. This is exactly where the story shifts gears from a crazy historical crime into the absolute stratosphere of legend.
Moving right along to Section 3, doing it twice, the escalating mystery.
So our seller knows exactly how the scam works now. He knows the blueprint is incredibly successful, but the environment is now exponentially more dangerous. The authorities exist, the original victim exists, and is out there somewhere. Yet the temptation to prove his own genius is just too intoxicating. Twice, he actually returned to the scene of the crime to do it all over again. He found a brand new target, pitched the exact same top-secret story, and set the trap a second time. I think it tells us something fundamental, and honestly, pretty terrifying about human nature. If the lie is big enough and delivered with absolute unyielding authority, someone's deep desire to be part of an exclusive, highly lucrative secret will completely override their common sense.
The double sale really stands as a true historical anomaly. It completely forces your brain to reconcile two totally conflicting truths, right? On one hand, monuments obviously cannot legally or physically be sold by private citizens. But on the other hand, this specific one was successfully sold twice. And, the success of this double sale was never really about the thousands of tons of iron making up the tower itself. Not at all. It was entirely about navigating the absolute vulnerability of the human mind.
Which leads us to our final part, Section 4, the ultimate con, a legacy of deception. Taking a step back, this incredible story leaves behind a permanent case study in the sheer mechanics of persuasion and belief. It really distills down to these undeniable elements. A single man orchestrated the entire plan, relying on literally nothing but his own wit and charm. The Eiffel Tower, a towering global icon, was the target. And finally, a completely successful double sale. And we're not talking about a near miss that got thwarted by the police at the last second. We are talking about a total, unmitigated success, executed not once, but twice. It completely redefines the limits of what a con artist can achieve, showing us how the abstract idea of a massive physical object can be entirely manipulated by someone who just knows how to control the narrative.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought. It is incredibly easy for us to sit back today and just laugh at the assumed gullibility of those original buyers. We all like to think we are way too smart and way too well informed to ever fall for something so ridiculous. But the truly terrifying genius of this double sale wasn't about finding foolish people. It was knowing exactly how to make a ridiculous proposition sound like the most logical, exclusive opportunity of a lifetime. So I have to ask you, if the pitch was absolutely perfect, the documents looked completely flawless, and the promise of unimaginable wealth was dangling right there just within your reach, are you absolutely certain you wouldn't sign on the dotted line? Think about that for a minute and keep questioning what you see.